Hiroshima. Every year, millions of tourists from around the globe visit this incredible destination in Western Japan to see the ruins of the atomic dome at Peace Park and, of course, breathtaking Etajima and its floating torii gates. And for the majority of travelers, that's where their trip will end, which is a terrible mistake that you don't want to make, because that's just scratching the surface of the incredible destinations that Hiroshima has on offer. So in today's video, we're going to be searching for those hidden gems, exploring mysterious islands, tasting the catch fresh from the ocean, learning about the history and the culture of its people, and of course, drinking as much as I possibly can in Hiroshima's famous sake breweries. This should be a fun one. Let's begin. Ask any traveler to Hiroshima what's the first thing they noticed on arrival, and inevitably, they'll tell you about the retro-style trams that run through the streets, adding to the nostalgic atmosphere that is a key part of the city's unique identity. And these trams will be the first step of our 3-day exploratory trip as we take a short ride to the Hiroshima Ujina port. Japan's inland sea is a place that I never tire of visiting, famed for its calm waters, rabbit-covered islands, and of course the breathtaking Shimanami Kaido, which allows you to ride over its many islands and bridges from the Hiroshima mainland all the way to Imabari in Shikoku, following a coastline that might make you think you're in the tropics rather than Japan. Today we'll be skipping the bikes as we're traveling in style, boarding the Sea Paseo, a ferry that won the 2019 Small Passenger Ship of the Year award, and it's not hard to see why, with these relaxing open seats, spacious rooms to relax or get some work done, and small gazebo seating on the roof that allow you to appreciate the sights of the inland sea. Japan's ferries are an often overlooked method of travel in favor of the nation's excellent rail network, but at the price of just 1,000 yen, or around $6.50, you don't need to break the bank to experience this luxurious cruise. My only complaint being that the 45-minute journey across the bay was much too short, as I barely had time to finish my tempura udon as we arrived in our first destination of Kure. Earlier in the year, I visited Kure for just an afternoon for my 3-day Hiroshima guide, visiting the Yamato Museum dedicated to the world's largest battleship ever constructed, complete with a massive 1/10 scale of the legendary ship itself. But just like my time on the Sea Paseo, that trip was all too short, so I vowed to return to see what other marvels this small but significant coastal town has to offer. Keen-eyed viewers may have already noticed there appears to be a submarine floating through the town, and you'd be right, as this decommissioned vessel is now a part of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force Museum. Having had a close encounter with a submarine in the Osaka Bay a week prior, I was interested to learn more about their main display, which allows you to explore the deck and bridge of the Akishio and offers a glimpse into the life of a submariner. But I quickly discovered that maybe I don't quite have the right build to survive life under the sea, although despite my size, I do find the bunks to be quite cozy, very similar to staying in a capsule hotel, which I do enjoy from time to time. It might surprise you to learn that the events of the Second World War still affect the waters of Japan. Between the Japanese and Allied forces, tens of thousands of mines were placed off the coast of Japan, and cleanup and disposal of these deadly devices is still an ongoing effort even till this day. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force is largely responsible for this dangerous task, and much of the exhibits are dedicated to this ongoing effort, ranging from the wooden post-war boats that could get close to magnetic threats, through the years to advanced aquatic drones and modern techniques. It is unknown when this daunting task will finally be completed, but until the last of them are pulled from the water, the men and women of Japan's Maritime Force will continue in their charge. The coastal cities of the Seto Inland Sea have always been protected by the islands and mountains that surround it, which is why shipyards and naval forces are a large part of the regional identity. With this in mind, we head to a small hill that overlooks the bay to find out more. Irefuneyama has stood over this town for its history and watched it grow and develop, which is why it was chosen as the home of the naval commanders until the end of World War II, when it was occupied by the British Allied forces for the next 10 years. And it was during this time that much of the building was adapted to suit Western tastes, the result of which is a one-of-a-kind step into the past and a fusion of both Western and Japanese design. Not only a step into the past, but between cultures, as in a single moment the traditional tatami mats and shoji doors give way to reveal the gorgeous Victorian interior, rich furnishings, and gold-embossed paper walls. This home was truly the best of both worlds for those that were lucky enough to live here, and I can only look on with envy as I come to the realization that my salary will never even come close to what it would cost to build such a home. With the sun beginning to set, but still hoping to get a closer look at Kure's fleet before heading to dinner, it's time to head back down to the bay and board a small boat. Sailing around the bay and up close and personal with some of Japan's active escort ships, and also to my delight, several of the newly designed submarines. The short cruise lasts just 35 minutes, but the experience was well worth it in my opinion. A truly unique view of Japan, and one quite different from the typical tourist hotspots, which are just a short distance across the bay. And having worked up an appetite, it's time to see what local cuisine is on offer. Trying regional dishes, as you can probably tell, is my favorite part of any adventure, and tonight's meal will be Fleet Kaiseki, the Kure Navy gourmet meal served at Satsukiso. Established in 1901, this restaurant has long been the favorite of naval officers, with multi-course meals sampling the finest local ingredients and flavors, showcasing the seasons of Japan. I am constantly astounded by just how affordable traveling in Japan can be, especially when away from the main tourist areas, as this excellent kaiseki cost me just 6,600 yen, or around $40 US. Kure offers a variety of accommodation, but tonight we'll be staying at Muku, a trendy hotel in a quiet neighborhood just 10 minutes by foot from Kure Station, featuring 11 different rooms they refer to as chambers, each with their own special Japanese theme and unique color scheme. And my chamber might just be the Chamber of Secrets, because this bathroom looks like it would be right at home in Snape's dungeon, but that's just fine with me as I love the design, and there's nothing quite like relaxing in a big bath after a long day's sea voyage. The double futon bunk bed is not only comfy, but very nostalgic of my childhood, which had a similar setup. Unlike my childhood, however, Muku is all class, and I can enjoy this room to myself, grab a quick mulled wine in the downstairs bar, and have a relaxing night to prepare for our second day. After a peaceful night's rest, it's time to head to our next destination, Etajima, the largest island in the Hiroshima Bay, neighboring Miyajima, which you can learn more about in my previous Hiroshima guide. Etajima is famous for its fresh seafood straight from the inland sea, and we have a special lunch planned for later on. It is also home to one of the world's famous top 3 naval academies, alongside Britain's Dartmouth and Annapolis in the States. The island's peak holds stunning views of the inland sea, as well as the old Mitakayama ruins to explore. And while many travelers have heard of the Shimanami Kaido cycling course, Etajima has its own Kakishima Kaido, a 30 to 70 kilometer seaside cycling course exploring the island, or even all the way back to Kure. Etajima's historic naval academy now serves as the Maritime Self-Defense Force First Service and Officer Candidate School, and guided tours are available daily right in my price range. Free, which really is a bargain, as you are escorted around the old base, which is an architectural and historical buff's dream. The Officers Candidate School is particularly photogenic with its contrasting red and white bricks. Etajima's ceremonial hall, in comparison, is stunning in full granite. During graduations, this hall can hold up to 2,000 people, and it even has its own special entrance and upper platform reserved for the Emperor of Japan. One of the buildings here is particularly fascinating and definitely recommended, which holds the base's most precious naval artifacts, but regrettably does not allow filming, which is out of respect and to encourage you to see it with your own eyes, so you'll just have to take my word that this one is absolutely worth your time. While exploring the island, you'll definitely build up an appetite, so we'll be heading to an authentic restaurant right on the coast to taste the freshest of the inland sea's catch of the day at Tsuboki. The bounty of the sea has always been a key part of the way of life for the people of Etajima, and that is embodied in the seafood set course. Today's catch featuring Japanese tai or sea bream as the centerpiece, with sashimi and lightly grilled fish, as well as octopus and squid. It certainly doesn't come any fresher than this, but try not to make any little friends during the meet and greet. Every course reflects the main ingredient in its own way. Traditional Japanese cuisine highlights the natural flavors with subtle additions and seasonal flair. And not only am I blown away by the taste, but just how affordable it really all is, as I would expect to pay 3 to 4 times what this cost in my home country. We have definitely been eating well this trip, and there's still more to come at tomorrow's final destination. While Etajima is the largest island in Hiroshima Bay, just 25,000 people call it their home, so you might think that you need to return to the city to find quality accommodation, but this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, one of the region's highest rated luxury hotels is found right on this island. Etajima So is a multi-award winning hotel right on the beach overlooking one of the most picturesque torii gates, a shrine accessible with the right tide called the Navy Road that looks out towards the inland sea. Etajima So's rooms cater to those looking for relaxation in luxurious surroundings, enjoy a bath while watching the ocean roll in and out, or their in-room massage chairs, perfect for an all-inclusive stay with an adjoining onsen for the complete Japanese experience. However, one word of caution from the wise: when checking in, you do need to check your seating before you sit down. Having thoroughly enjoyed the ocean air and sampling every last creature in it over the last 2 days, it's time to take the ferry back to the mainland, where we'll be heading by train towards our final destination of Higashi Hiroshima. But first, we'll take a quick detour to Kaita town, just 15 minutes away from Hiroshima Station, to find out what life in Japan's Edo period was really like. 250 years ago, the former Chiba residence served as an important post town along the Saigoku Kaido, an ancient road linking Shimonoseki all the way through to Kyoto. A road that was apparently fraught with danger, and you apparently needed to bring your sword just to go to the bathroom. In recent years, much of Japan has been modernized or reconstructed, and while still beautiful, they have lost that touch of authenticity. So seeing this part of history so lovingly cared for hundreds of years was quite refreshing, and for the second time this trip, I'm left realizing that living here would be quite above my pay grade. While the ancient Saigoku Road has been replaced, you can still travel where it used to be, and along the way find many shrines and temple as you go. And many of my favorite moments in Japan have been when I just let my feet decide which way to head and see where I turn up. After all, you never really know what you're going to find. But as you well know, there is one thing I am always looking for, and that is, of course, my next meal. Which means we're hopping back on the train and heading to our last destination, Saijo, known as the sake capital of the world. Saijo's natural environment and geology create ideal conditions for sake brewing. The natural soft water and perfect combination of minerals is why the area has so many breweries. During the cooler months in Japan, nabe, or hot pot, is a popular dish across the nation, so of course we need to try the town's take on this dish, Bishu Nabe at Kubamachi Kappo Shinsuke, which of course includes their most famous ingredient. Lightly seasoned to preserve the true flavor of the sake, the alcohol evaporates while cooking, so this cold weather treat can even be enjoyed by those hypothetical non-drinking friends. But now, at long last, it's the time that everyone, or at least myself, have all been waiting for. A tour of the town's 7 sake breweries, of which our restaurant is the first. But not wanting to drink alone, on camera at least, I am joined by Yone, a local guide and sake expert for the newly launched Sakuradori Street Tasting Tour. And before I sampled enough of the town's specialty that everything became a blur, Yone explained to me just how much really goes into the process of making sake, which I absolutely remember, provided there is no one asking me any questions about it in the comments. All jokes aside though, as someone who thought they liked sake before, I never really knew how many varieties there are. This was an adventure to Flavor Town with sakes you could have told me were rosé wines, sparkling champagnes, sweet and citrusy juicy delights, and my personal favorite that starts out frozen and needs to be tasted within the first hour of its thawing. It isn't often I get to pretend to be this fancy, but it was an absolute highlight of this trip, and frankly, if I hear that anyone goes to Hiroshima in the future that does not take a side trip to Saijo, I'll consider them a poor, unfortunate soul. Just remember to stay hydrated, and fortunately enough, along with my commemorative sake cup, Yone was kind enough to bring me a spare bottle of my third favorite drink, water. Well, I think I've had quite enough to drink, so this one will have to be for you. But what an incredible trip to these undiscovered locations in Hiroshima. I'll include a list of everywhere we went in the description below. But if you want to see more of Hiroshima, then definitely check out this video, and we'll see you in the next one.